So yeah, anyway, I've got some kind of problem with this photo booth software which I'm using on my MacBook Pro, which seems to freeze for some reason when I start to move my... Look, you see, it did it again. God, I'm so perceptive. That's exactly what... Why is it doing that though? What the fuck is that all about? Fucking hundreds of gigabytes of fucking working memory. Obviously not enough, is it? Anyway, God. So anyway, before I was talking about I'd sent this recording that's very meaningful to me because I remember that moment, and that out of that whole concert, which went on for hours, I've got it all on recording. I'm not interested in any of it. It was that moment, that just, it's timeless, and it will always remain one of the most profound things that's ever happened to me on stage. And we all knew it. Only, I'm sure some of them would think, well, you shouldn't talk about it because it's kind of removing the possibility of it happening next time, because if you leave it undescribed and undefined, it's free to be what it is. So I guess I do have some fear about actually sharing what I think. But anyway, forget all that. I am here. I'm sharing it, and I've already done it, and I'm glad about that because it forges. I'm always interested in forging forwards to the next port of call. Where is it? What's the next question I need to be asking myself here? Very practically. I mean, this is all changing my life. I mean, okay, look, I listened to that song the other night. At the same time, I just got the feedback saying, God, thank you so much. Words fail me, whatever it might be. I did a very good thing by sharing that music and saying, listen to it intensely and get back to me what you feel like. And of course, the response to me was not a surprise because if you really do it, if you give it a chance, it's incredibly profound. I mean, I went as far as to say to Maya, that's the most powerful music I've ever heard in my life, and I was part of it. Now you might think, oh God, here we go with all the ego shit, but it wasn't me playing a fucking violin. It wasn't me, it wasn't me. But somehow it was connected to me, and it was because of my very presence with the poetry on the front of the stage with the microphone. Of course, that's the leader of the band, music, microphone, singer, we were all supporting him. That's not the dynamic that happened on the stage. Now, on a very deep level, I understand all of those dynamics between people, politics of it, and everything else. And of course, so for me, it's a different music than it might be for someone just listening to it. I understand how that came to pass, how it came to be. And as I said before, I hear them talking to me sometimes. And they go, with music, we're always relating it to our own experience. Well, my experience is that is very relevant music for me. Let's just leave it at that. Conversation. Music is about conversation. It's about communication. It is the highest form of communication. In my opinion, that won't change. Here for the human beings in this limited little life with time-bound capsule that we've occupied for a while. Maybe. Anyway, I still haven't said it. Amazing. I'm learning. I am learning from these videos. I'm taking the best, forgetting the rest in myself. Great process indeed it is. Very great process. So yeah, I have to ask myself, well, why are you pretexting it with all of this blah blah blah? Well, it's not just blah blah blah. I'm actually giving you some information that might help you to make an informed. Well, when I do give you the information, so the information is okay. Let's just put it in the shortest possible nutshell. We were listening to that music very intently in silence. And toward the end of that process, oh God, here we go. Now, what are you doing, Maya? Yeah, okay, well, I'm just in the middle of making a video, so um, I just wanted to know if you need me or anything. Fascinating, isn't it? Fascinating. I'm scared. I'm scared of 5G. You know, as I say, with all of this Facebook for years, it's been about the raw truth of Alex. Sharing it. Not being afraid of being judged, which is obviously some kind of thing that I had to go through when I was younger. Just give me a moment, short moment, thank you. I'm giving up smoking, so sometimes I use these tobacco products. Scruff, it's called. I still haven't said what's on my mind. So wordlessly, I'm processing why. What's that about? What's the reluctance? Why can't you just forward the information as quickly as you can? Which is what I've always been so great at, I think. A little bit too much. Now I have to rein it in. Sing your story, post all your videos, blah blah blah, the guitar, you know. Most of them are crap. But at least the intention was good. And that inspires people. Oh yes, it definitely does. The amount of messages I receive, how inspired they are. And I've never wanted to be famous because that is a scary thing. All the books that I've read about where that takes people, suddenly they're so popular, they're the king of the world. But so what? I mean, unfortunately, with our culture these days and the celebrity culture, the political correctness and the correct opinion and kind of everything else, well, then you'll create someone like Bono, who, I mean, U2 had some good songs, but that guy's an idiot, I'm afraid. He doesn't pay any taxes. He's running around telling everyone how great he is. He's doing stuff with Bill Gates and, you know, with all the vaccines and everything else that I don't really understand too much about, but I do understand enough to have a very good discernment where people are coming from. And fame just sends them crazy, usually. There's not many people who I mean, I'm a very complex character. So if I'm going to become famous, I mean, now I'm also getting a bit older. I mean, but it's just never been my priority. It's never been my desire because I see how fake it becomes so quickly, and especially if it's amongst especially if it's amongst kind of alternative circles, the festivals and everything else. Like, I used to have a really good job at Glastonbury Festival, but that was makes me a bit sad that I don't still do it because I'm sure someone else has filled the gap now. But I really did amazing. I went in there and I built all. I'm a carpenter. I was trained in carpentry after I left school. I had all my problems. I went back to study joinery, and I can build a mirror frame and put a mirror in it to make it look nice and varnish it, and I know how to do the different joins and everything. So anyway, at Glastonbury Festival, I was doing joinery and I built the steps up to the porta cabins. There's two porta cabins. Worthy FM, BBC used the same aerial because it's the point on site with the broadcasting capabilities. So I was just there 5 days before the festival begins. And then it turns out the head of Worthy FM is the wife of the head of security for the entire festival. And so we had a great little number there. we had hospitality wristbands, which means you can go anywhere on site. No one can tell you shit, it doubly do. It's much, much better than having a normal wristband. Oh no, you've got to go that way around. Oh, if you want to go in Shangri-La, I'm sorry, it's full, you can't come in this way. You've got to go wait till some people go out that way, and now you've got to go back all the way around that way. Like, I didn't have to do any of that. So I met some amazing famous people at that time. I met Tom York, played music with him. And I was dancing with Jarvis Cocker, and I was talking to Edward Norton. Had a long chat with Edward Norton, drank a cider with him, smoked a cigarette. Edward Norton. Or that Avatar, the movie. All of those guys from Avatar were all there together. No one really even knew who they were, but I'd seen Avatar, and they were there, and I was working on and off the bar, it's in Shangri-La, it's in a very cool area, so I had this kind of side job that was to do with my other friend, and she'd got me this job in the bar, drink as much as you want, sell it, alcohol, and well, it was just famous people after famous people. I mean, I interviewed Bez from the Happy Mondays, that didn't go too well. God, I wish I had those things. I split with her, and she fucking removed all my photos with the famous people. She was like, "They belong to me, thank you very much. Fuck you, Alex. You're not having your little day in fucking glory with the Tom York of this world." And it's okay, it is what it is. I mean, I don't need to. But anyway, I don't know quite where I'm going with all of this or why I'm even going there. I'm just sharing. I mean, I love it. I love to talk. Now there's been all this going on with 5G, Glastonbury Festival, and what was I saying again? I was Carpentry, Glastonbury Festival. Oh yes, the point was, it would be so easy for me to be a kind of minor celebrity amongst this culture. I mean, I am a good musician. I do have good songs that I don't play to anyone for that reason. These are the bigger, deeper questions that I'm asking myself. What am I so afraid of with this popularity? Why am I anti-popularity? What has made me that way? Because if it was right for me to become popular, I would have done it years and years ago. I would have reined myself, checked myself, balanced myself, and I would have become somebody that people know what he's doing. Fortunately, I don't really even know what I'm doing yet, so I do know one thing. Recently now is my songwriting time, and when I deactivated Facebook, I've had a few weeks off. For the same reason I'm afraid of the songwriting, because All We Need Is Love by the Beatles, for example. It's a timeless classic. Why? It's a pop song. It has classical elements of classical, it's classically correct, and it has the rock and roll, the folk. The reason the Beatles will go down in history as one of the most relevant pop groups of all time, if not the most, well, that's a question that I kind of have a bit of an opinion about. And if you want to talk about sound frequencies and God and the power of music to do good in the world or to do bad, well, then it leads me to start looking into Tupac Shakur and where the fuck he was coming from. And there's a lot of conspiracy theory about that these days. Maybe it was all socially engineered, all the rap music, the gangster rap. Maybe that was a bit of an agenda going on. And I don't know. My opinion would be probably that's not real conspiracy theory, but of course with all of these conspiracy theories, I'm just interested that they've had them in the first place. They're actually asking those questions. And, well, hang on a minute. If we're not allowed to talk about it, then why not? If it's such a delusion, then what are you so scared of? That's how I am with all of these conspiracy theories. And one thing that's not a conspiracy theory is that the 440 hertz that was adopted, I don't know, back in the 30s or something, or the 20s, around World War I time, it was kind of set in stone. Okay, we're not going to use different tuning. It all has to be in a standard Western 440 hertz. And well, I play in 440. I have to because I play with harmonica player, and the harmonicas are in 440. They are not anywhere else. So harmonica is quite a modern instrument, and you could do all your research about that and what that means if you want. I don't. Maybe I should. Maybe I will more. Maybe that's where this is all leading me. But the point is that the hang drum became very popular very quickly. I was busking. Okay, come along with this hang drum. You couldn't even play it. You just ordered it online. It was when a hang drum was something very new. I don't know when it was, in the early noughties. And I was amazed. I mean, now I am outside the bank, outside the Wetherspoons, where I always am, in Bristol. I've got a few little busking spots, but that's my spot. And it's not just mine. I mean, that's what I identify as being where I play music. I'm comfortable there doing it. And if other musicians come along and they want to do it, then okay, let's talk. Okay, well, I'll give it another half an hour, mate, and then you can pop in there in 2 hours, and then I don't know, maybe when you've finished, then someone else can have a go, or or maybe I can. I'm very reasonable with people like that. I have to be, and I am just naturally, and I'm totally not about domination. So yesterday I had oh God, like, watch out, Alex, focus on one thing at a time, mate. Um, Maya, Maya. I feel like no one should overhear me. Meanwhile, I'm making a video for the whole world. I don't know what it is. It's scary. I'm scared. Wherever I find fear in myself, I know I'm looking in a very, very relevant place indeed. Because wherever these fears are, well, then you have to ask, well, what's fear? How does that get created? Is it rational? Well, yes, I would suggest it is. It's based on my rational outlook. So, why? What are you so scared of here? What does that mean? Is there any place for fear in this world? Well, yes, of course there is. It's a human emotion. So if you're afraid of something, then in its purest form, fear is just another sign. The emotions are all signs to me. And, well, I still haven't told you what happened. It's amazing. I'm kind of skirting around the edges of it, trying to give it a pretext so that you can hopefully understand it as deeply as I do, which asks the deeper question that I still don't know the answer to, I'm afraid. That's where I'm at with it all. So I listened intently. The music finished, and I felt like I had this purple diamond in my, it's about the throat chakra, but the diamond was going down like this, and coming like this in my groin, which is the base chakra. So I don't know why, but this and this were not part of the diamond that was created by the vibration of the music, because I'd listened so intently to it, and a huge openness, a huge space of godliness was experienced in myself, just because I listened intensely. I took my own advice. And I said, well, okay, if that's what you're telling them to do with your little music that you've made a couple of years ago that you didn't even make, it wasn't even, oh God, you see, I'm doing it again. It's very important to understand these things properly. I do understand what I'm saying, what I'm trying to say, because I am me. And no one, even the people that love me most, one of the things that came out of my mouth the other day that was very profound to me was that many people love me, or they try to love me, and even the people who love me the most can't understand me like I do. And so then I'm trying to kind of bridge that divide so that they can understand me, and that's what this is all about, essentially. Of course, yes, go and write the songs then and sing about it. Well, yes, that's correct. I will do it, and I am doing it. But if I'm going to sing songs about something, like I've been doing my whole life, then first, I want to understand why. What's the intention? The intention is what's powerful here. You talk about vibration, sound, hearing everything in the sound. The vibration is much, much more powerful than we give it credit for. Well, I don't overlook that aspect these days, especially after what's just happened the other night with this fucking music. Anyway, I listened to it intently, deeply, deeply, deeply listening to all the elements, knowing the different personalities involved and where they're from and their contribution. If it's a little bit over dominating, and then I better shut up now and give you a bit of space. If it's over excitable, if it's actually just not needing to prove anything at all and it just is there very powerfully. In the case of the two lead instruments, I think that's exactly where they're coming from. They don't need to prove anything to anyone. They don't need to be fucking virtuosos, because they already are. I mean, everything comes to you at that point. Then you've got to kind of filter out the bullshit, and that's why they're my friends. I'm very, very fascinated by people like that, because they don't need to be famous. They are powerful magnets, and everything they need is right at their fingertips. And all they do is share what they love in the most powerful way that they're allowed, that they can. Because we do have freedom of expression, freedom of speech. And for them, it's not political at all. They don't want it to be, because as soon as it is, it could limit the possibility of what it might be in the future. And again, I'm doing it. Again, I have not said it, because I know what I'm like, and as soon as I just start saying it, I might lose the balance. Okay, let's just say what happened from my perspective. What happened? I had this diamond, this blazing clarity inside. That's kind of next level. You know, talk about lucid dreaming, remote viewing, all of these things. The fact that I'd sent it to others and asked for them to listen to it also brought their energy into, you know, I really am an open vessel, and I have the ability, which we all have, to really listen to the Spirit. We are expressions of the Great Spirit. We are God, made in God's image, they will say in the Christianity. In human form, limited. We've got all of the Sadhguru, we've got all of this complex technology, and we don't know how to use it mostly. Well, at least I'm asking, how do I use this properly, please? Let's have a bit of a new instruction manual. That's what all the code was all about. Look, can't you see how obvious it is? Capital T for the truth, or for the whatever you might want to say. Okay, tyranny. No, that will get a non-capitalised T, thank you very much. And maybe we'll get a couple of explanation, what they called quotation marks, to really hammer home the point that this is just a word. It doesn't need to be given power. The truth is also just a word, but what it reflects is something very important indeed. And anyway, I'm sorry I'm doing it all again. There I was with my open heart, open mind, and I've got a girlfriend, and she also listened to the music, and she wanted to cuddle me. And I also want to be affectionate with people, and I also want to share affection with everyone, not with anyone physically, but with everyone in the best way that I can. And anyway, I'll just quickly say, well, when I was doing the 12 inquiries, which was the most powerful retreat I ever did, I did many different retreats, trying to understand the spirituality shit. Uh, but I did this one, 2009, 12 inquiries, and we had to, it's a bit like you have to write down your answers to these self-reflective questions, and then you have to read your answers out to the group. Everyone's sat facing forward and the teachers are up there, and they'll ask, okay, well, this is the question, okay, well, what's your answer? Okay, let's start from this end and then move around. And then as it was going on, well, people would just be breaking out in tears, and I'd be like, wow, it's so amazing. You know, look, it's so beautiful. They're just crying like, that's how profound it is to them. And it was incredibly profound to me. But I was not crying when I was reading mine out. Something was stopping me. I didn't know what it was. Fear, I guess. Fear of being judged, of being seen, being real. Well, no. I was being as real as I could with my answers. That was the whole point, and definitely I was doing that. But then, you know, that can go too far, where you're trying to be a bit too real, a bit further ahead of where you think you might need to be. Well, that's also fake. So if I was going to cry, I knew in that moment, the same as I would if I did it right now this day, that if the tears come through, then in that setting, in that situation, it will not be based on any kind of delusion. It will be based on my actual love for the truth and for the expression of the truth. And well, I wasn't counting numbers, but I was actually the last one to break down in tears. Half men, half women. And I didn't make any judgment about anyone crying, or it was just perfect. Great. Oh my God. Well, look, we've got the freedom to do this. How amazing. We can actually have a real deep conversation here amongst ourselves. And if we want to cry, if we want to shout, if we want to scream, well, then we can. I mean, one of the girls ended up going to the mental hospital. That's a whole nother story. Don't get me started on it. But finally, I was banned and excluded from Balanced View because of my addiction. And yeah, it's quite sad to me because I don't follow those people anymore. For a long time I did. But anyway, what are you fucking saying, Alex? It kicks in with the paranoia, 5G. And you see now, my conclusion to the thing I haven't even told you about yet is that this is something connected with 5G. That's why I want the fucking meter to tell me the radiation. Because if I'm extremely like an open channel, an open book, I've listened to music and my heart is wide open. There is nothing in the way of it. It is open, and the third eye, whatever you think that is, the pineal gland. Well, that's, in my understanding, my limited understanding, when all of those elements align, and I was just lying on my back with my shoulders down and my heart open, listening to the music for 20 minutes, and it was the most powerful music I've ever heard in my life. And that's really saying something. But based on all of those elements that I've described before, well, the fact that I was there or not doesn't matter. But I just happen to be part of it at the same time. So that's even more interesting to me. Well, that's not the defining factor of why it's the most powerful music I've ever heard in my life. Because I've got many different musical tastes. You can't put that in a box and say that, well, it's, well, you might say it's psychedelic rock and roll if you really want. I mean, okay, that's probably the best we can get at. It's psychedelic music. Acoustic trance. Well, we even used to call it that, so that's what it is. It's acoustic musicians, live musicians, not with computers making boom, 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 which is also great. It's not psytrance. I was an open book. I cuddled. The reason I was telling you about all this with the crying, that's right, let's come back to that. When I did cry, finally, I was reading this answer out, and I can't remember what it said. It was something to do with the 12 inquiries. I started crying. And in that moment, it, it, it was again very related to, it can be related to the same thing with the music. Something extremely powerful happened in that moment. And I just remember like a dew, like a mist. And as I closed my eyes, just all the trees and the butterflies and everything as one, like the lizards and the snakes and the bears and the bees and everything, just all together, with a human being looking at it. And the beauty of it, I was crying because it was just so beautiful. What I'd written, first of all, and the emotion that came through was absolutely exquisite. I mean, beyond your dreams, beyond anything you could dream, because you don't even know it's there. Very lucid, very free. And so I had this huge upswell of energy, compassion for all mankind, whatever you want to call it. I had it in that moment. I would have been the last person to cry. And one of the girls sat next to me. She just reached over and she touched my leg to reassure me. The moment she did it, it all went out. I was having something very, very, very powerful happen through myself. And it's not anything special or different. It was something very ordinary, actually. But because of the setting and the permission to share, it had expressed itself. And I had ended up in what I would say are beautiful emotions. Tears coming streaming out, blubbering mess. What you might call a blubbering mess. So of course the first thing we want to do is reassure them, don't worry, it's all fine. As soon as she did that, I remember it was like I just looked at her and I was just like, the tears stopped, everything stopped, and I looked at her hand and she was rubbing my leg like slower and slower, and I was just like, and then she took her hand away and it was done. I mean, there was nothing more, it was finished. And I wish she wouldn't have done that. Or I did at the time. I mean, I don't think about these things. Oh God, if only she wouldn't have done that, and maybe this wouldn't have happened. But you know, we just never know. Every moment is important, and every moment is precious. And especially if you're channeling these very divine energies, consciousness, mystical things that we can never really quite understand. In the best of intentions in the world, my English is quite good, but describing these things is the hardest thing. That's why we need poems. That's why we need music, because that gives us a bit more freedom to actually get to the crux of it. And that's why I love haikus. Anyway, we cuddled, and I remember something related with the same thing. Well, hang on a minute, like, you know, I'm getting on. I've had many of these experiences, so God, okay, but it's not what I need, and it's not what I want, and it's not what I wanted in that moment. But I don't want her thinking, you know, for her, she's got this whole lovey-dovey thing going on because of the music, and okay, so let's cuddle, and then we cuddled, and it changed all of the energy straight away. Um, the music had finished, And rather than finding some other music to kind of change the mood, lighten it all up a little bit, which might have been a good idea, I mean, that's kind of probably what you should do in that circumstance, because unless you're actually personally ready to really feel it, watch out. Now, I don't know, this is where it gets fascinating for me. I don't know. I've learned to protect myself over the years. I would say I've had experiences where dark forces have come inside me in the night and thrown me around, and I had to wake up, and it was no good sharing about it. I have to understand it for myself. You have to have boundaries, and I learned how to protect myself from darkness. Now, the point of view that I was holding on to before was that everything is like, darkness is not real. It's a projection, and I'm not interested in it. You know, that was my kind of way since the last 10 years. And then it wasn't until certain things happened when I was in Nepal, where very, very, very malevolent forces wanted, in the same way that the God or the light, the Father of the universe, whatever you want to call him, her, or it, in the same way, that's a very good way of saying it. In fact, that's the best way I can think of. Intently interested in what these beings are doing down here with their little violins and everything else. Intently interested. Wanting to know itself through us. Wanting us to know it through taking it. It all has to be on free will. God can't just come in, and it doesn't work like that. He's not allowed. He can't do that. He can't. I'm saying he. It's because I'm a Christian. I've been brought up as a Christian. I'm not identifying as a Christian even now, but I did go to Sunday school. So if I'm talking about God, it's easy for me to say he. I don't know. It's just a fucking pronoun. It's not so important actually. We're all different. So that's who I identify. The Father of the universe as a he. Maybe it's not a he. I mean, actually, it's probably both. It's probably transsexual. Don't fucking go there, Alex. I was an open vessel because I'd been listening so intently. It was a very deep meditation, let's say. That meditation had led me to a point where I was feeling like I had a purple diamond in my body, and it was pulsating with vitality, goodness, depth, wealth, health. I believe that kind of energy can heal everything. You know, you talk about Reiki, you talk about energetic healing, well, sound healing. All of these things, I'm a musician. I play the guitar, and I sing. I'm a singer, and that won't change. I mean, I've had all of that process, and I went off to be a graphic designer, but it didn't work out because I was looking at my guitars and I was thinking, well, I'm not playing the guitars now, so I had to decide: split your creative output one way or the other. I'm a musician, not a graphic designer. I have a great aptitude for anything I put my mind to in terms of creativity. I was very good at sketching because I learned how to do it. That's very interesting. It's about the mind, and it's about the dominant mind, the masculine mind, or you might say the control, and the chaos. The inner cortex. Now, when you get good at sketching, like if I was sketching myself now, I'm looking, you know, well, eye. Okay, how does his eye look like? Okay, well, this is his eye. Well, there's an eye. Your dominant mind fucks you straight away because you've not looked at the shapes. You've not looked at this shape. It's like, how does that? Where does that? Where are these? Where's that line? How do we put that on the page accurately? You can't do it through the thoughts, but your mind will think it can because it's very, very sure about all these little thoughts. So that's where drawing, sketching is also becoming very interesting indeed, and very relevant, like all of these topics are. I mean, I could go off in 1,000 directions, say many things because I'm assured of the restful state. I'm assured that if you want to do a good sketch of yourself, a self-portrait, then don't think, well, what do I think Alex looks like? What does he actually look like? How do those shapes connect with each other? If you think it's an eyebrow, no, incorrect. That's not how it works. As soon as you've labelized it as something, you've lost the accuracy of being able to transcribe what it really is. And so yes, the best advice I can give for anyone is, if you are listening to a piece of music, you will have many, we all do, we have many thoughts will come up. Don't, hold to nothing, hold to none of them, assume nothing, and then learn to really listen beneath what's really going on. And the minute that happens, then you'll have all these other thoughts that you've never had before, and you'll be attaching yourself to them and everything else. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go forever. It won't go anywhere. It's still there, but you're not attached to it. Actually, by detaching ourselves to all of these little things, we've got a much better chance of finding out what's at the bottom. That's what lucid dreaming is about. Maintaining awareness whilst falling asleep, you could say. Very powerful practice, and that's where my concerns are with this 5G, because right now I'm having crazy dreams. Good, yes, I've related it to what happened there. That's an intense expression of it, because I was very open. I'm a very pure soul, and I don't doubt that. Whether you doubt or not, that's up to you. I'm a very pure spirit, and my body and my mind, everything's pure. Everything's for everyone, I believe. Impurity is born out of confusion. Confusion is fine, but if you identify and confuse yourself more with more and more blah blah blah, trying to work it all out, then that's not what I'm actually doing here. I'm trying to communicate to you in a useful way what happened, what happens, what I'm worried about, what I'm concerned about, external elements, and how they are feeding into my kind of unuseful paranoia, which is why I need the fucking radioactive meat so I can test. Because what happened is, I had very disgusting images coming to my mind, not mine. I would not have imagined them. There was a dying woman covered in blood and boiling alive, and there was a hand tightening. I'm cuddling, we're kind of spooning, and I'm facing outwards, and I have this. What the fuck is that? It's not mine. Where is it coming from? Who's doing that to me? Well, okay, I'm an open vessel, I've meditated, let's say I've done a deep meditation, because to me everything's meditation. It's not just about sitting on the floor and becoming enlightened. Everything is an opportunity for meditation. Anyway, that's a long story, but if you are very open-minded, what I mean by that is it's not just a fucking preference of how naturally I am like that, but that can go really deep, or it can just be kind of a superficial basis of what you are. And I'm very open-minded all the time, but when I really focus, like with the meditation, then I become very open. And how I felt and what I feel looking back on that is that something was forced into my awareness that I didn't want. I don't know where it came from, but I suspect I asked the question, could it be the 5G? Now, I'd had these thoughts weeks ago, and I'm part of the 5G group, and I just put a very open question. It was very interesting because I'm struggling here a little bit, guys, with, I'm having mad dreams. It's true. Dreams that I'm a very lucid dreamer, actually, if things are going well, which at the moment they are, and they should be. I'm a very lucid person. I can allow everything to be, and that's all lucid dreaming is about. So the dreams come, and rather than attaching to all of the ideas about that, oh, my battery's going to die of 7%. Thank you for letting me know. So I better get to the point. The point is that I'd listened to music. I had this very beautiful, divine thing that I could attribute to the kind of the same as when I was reading my answers. And then very sordid, very disgusting images. I feel the presence of others, whether they're on a different continent or what. If they're thinking, if they love me, the power of love. If the intention is thinking about me, how's Alex doing? I wonder what, maybe it's just a little thought that's crossed their mind. I feel it. And then I'll deny it maybe, but it's true. And then synchronicity will happen. Boom, 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 boom. You better look at this. This is real. You are a psychic. I've really struggled with that word, and I'm afraid I haven't got time now to kind of go into all of that, but psychic is one word we can use that's very... It does. None of these words really sum it all up, but that's one word we can use to know what we're talking about. So when I'm doing the lucid dreaming practice, for example, I count down from 10, and it's like a self-hypnosis. And I've researched hypnosis, I've been hypnotized, and I know about, so it's really interesting. But just naturally it's become part of my sleeping process every night. I mean, because I really, years ago, really invested a lot of my attention into finding out what is blocking me from being lucid in my sleep. I want to know. So I'm having these dreams. Well, what do the dreams mean? Everything's connected to super consciousness. They might call it subconscious. There's nothing sub about it. It is super consciousness wanting to know itself. That's what dreaming is. The reason that we heal and get better when we're sleeping is because things need to process themselves. So yes, believe you me, I have many intense dreams, and I'm not always so lucid with them. But I do wake up, and then I have to let them go, because that's the whole point. If you try and work it all out with your mind, you won't be able to. So the awareness is actually something greater than that. It's something that just knows, and it will remember what it needs to remember, and it will be guided in the direction that it needs to be guided in if you let it, which is all I'm doing with these videos, with my intention of chatting to certain people who I don't really know, but I have a very good feeling about, and learning together. Human beings are limited. Identity is an illusion, but charisma, well, that's who we really are. The character that we're portraying is either very aligned with his truth or very unaligned in his deceptions. I am not a fucking textbook psychiatrist, so I might be saying many things, and I don't know, I hope I'm not contradicting myself, because I don't think there's no reason why I would be, because I'm just speaking from my truth, my highest truth. And of course all of it comes in about the dyslexia and the unworthiness and everything else, and I'm having a bit of that going on now. I mean, it's always part of me, I'm always thinking, shut up Alex, no one wants to listen to your crap. Go and learn a fucking thing or two, read a book. Well, I've spent years doing that, and it's brought me to this point of realisation. And the realisation is that I want to reflect my need to understand with people who also have, many people now want to know something that they don't understand. So I believe that that's where the answers are, and the more that I get the truth, the healthier I am. I mean, You talk about fucking purple diamonds. Well, that's true. That's real. That's how I can describe what happened. And then I'm there in that state of bliss. But okay, it wasn't really blissful in the sense of like ecstatic bliss. It was very, very deep, very, 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 very sincere, very, 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 very powerful. And then the demons came into my mind, and I'm sure that they weren't self-generated illusions. I'm sure that they weren't part of my subconscious. I'm sure they came from an external place, somewhere outside. And I'm sure they didn't come from my partner. I'm sure of it, because no. I asked her afterwards, what did you feel then when we had our heads together? And she said, oh, I just felt love. Like it was so beautiful, romantic, that we listened to the music together. And, she doesn't have the same, why would she? She's fine. She doesn't need to ask herself these questions, maybe. I'll challenge her to maybe think a little bit deeper, but I don't need to really try to do that. That just happens by itself. But because of the fact that I was so tuned into listening to the vibrations of the music and the intention and everything else, I'd opened up a doorway for someone else to come in. And in they came. And I protect myself, first of all, so I'm like pushing it out. How I know how I've learned to protect my spirit, my soul, how I've learned to not let it become polluted by these disgusting elements, evil, you might want to call it. I believe in the goodness, and I believe in the light. I believe that I am a great expression of light in this world, and that is how I protect myself. It's returning to the source. And anyway, what were the questions again? I've only got 4% battery, so I don't want to kind of take the piss with this in case it doesn't record properly or something. How can sound frequencies be used to save or destroy our world? Well, I think we've talked about it, but listen. Learn to listen. Learn to really listen. So if someone's saying something that's provocative to you, learn to really listen to beyond what they're saying. What is actually driving that sentence? That's what I do when I watch these videos back of myself and I'm going off on all these tangents. I'm thinking, well, why do you need to do that? What is it about you that's not quite in rest with itself? And I think I'll leave it there because I'm a bit worried about the battery. Namaste. The reason I say namaste is the beauty of my spirit, the recognition of it, recognizes the spirit of you in peace, in love, and in unity, and in goodwill for all mankind. May we live in peace. May we come to know how we can make this world a better place. And may we never exclude the things that we're scared of. May we include them and make them our greatest power of all, because that is what they are there for. We are being guided. I love you. If you have asked questions and I haven't, if I've swerved them, let me know. What's the next question then? How can I better understand what it is that you're trying to ask? And how can I assist you in delving inside myself to explain in a better way my answer to those questions, whatever they might be? Ask me anything. Please ask me anything. Ask away. I'm absolutely so ready to share from my experience if that can help any one single person in this world to understand something that they're struggling with. That's the whole purpose of this. Thank you very much for listening. I love you very much.